Hello and welcome. I have recently been inspired to do something that I haven't done in decades. I remember growing up in the 80s and 90s, pulling my loose leaf paper out and my little clicker pen that had 3 or 4 different colors and I could choose to write a book report. Sometimes my teacher would have a handout that I needed to follow as far as like the characters that were in it and the setting. But my recollection is I got to sort of determine how my book report was designed, and I got to kind of decide what information I put in it. So, as I am doing a reread of The Thornbirds by Colleen McCullough, I was just really struck by this desire to make a book report to kind of solidify my experience. It's one of the things I've been thinking about is that as a reread, I don't remember very much about this book. I have a vague recollection of what happens in it. And I really want this to stick. I don't want to, in another, let's think about this, 30 years, be thinking, oh, I should reread Thornbirds because I don't really remember it. And so I thought I would take this notebook and make a sort of collage scrapbook style book report about my reading experience. So I hope that you'll join me in this. My plan is to share with you kind of my design ideas and then just bring you along through the process as I build it. And my hope is that in some form or fashion, you're inspired to bring a little bit of creativity into your own reading life. So for the notebook, I'm obviously not going to fill up this whole book on just the Thornbirds, but I might decide to do this again if I think it's fun and something that I enjoy doing. I might just choose another book and continue to do this kind of, again, scrapbooking book report idea. So within the first page, I have made a copy of this book and have just washi taped it in. I fortunately found washi tape that matches the other side. And I might put information in here as far as just the date, who I read it with, because I am buddy reading it, my overall thoughts, and just write that behind here. But for the rest of the pages, I have a whole bunch of paper that I've picked out down below. So let's go ahead and move down here and I will share with you what my next steps are. All right, I've spent some time, first of all, figuring out how I want to divide the book out. And even though the page numbers are not even, like Meggie only has 50 pages, whereas once you get to Ralph, he's got 120, etc. So it's not even. But I think I'm just going to keep it simple and just do one spread for each of the 7 sections. So I went through my scrapbook paper collection. I wanted to get paper that matches this cover. So I found a yellow, orange, green palette. I also did the same on just grabbing some washi tape. I don't know how much I will use, but I just grabbed some that I think will match as well. So the theme I have is that the ones that are predominantly like yellowish orange will be the females, and then the ones that are mostly green will be the males. I also have sticker packs from Scrapbooking. So I've got a camping one. I thought I might be able to find some things in there. I have a like hot weather desert kind of stickers. And then I also just have a, it looks like a fall autumn one. So I'm just going to see what fits. I also have some yellow in here. Let's see if I can show you. I've got some yellow stickers in there. So I thought I might be able to use some of those as well as the green. These are just summertime ones. Again, I'm just going to go through and see what of my scrapbooking stickers I can use for this scrapbooking book report. So now that I've explained that, I think I am ready to start with Meggie's paper, which is going to be this one, and just start on that spread for her section. Meggie was the first section, and so this was kind of where I determined what the layout would be for the rest of the sections. What I landed on was having the name of the character that the section was divided into and named for on the right. And then on the left, I just had the time period in years as well. I also, with Meggie, decided to make a family tree because I was really getting acclimated to all of the different character names. And since my goal in this was to have just little vignettes and little doodles and stickers to just help me remember the book. And then under the name of the character was where I decided to put all of the things that were kind of Meggie-centric. So for Meggie, I just found this section to be so heartbreaking and sad. She was so cruelly treated at school. She lost a really dear friend. Her brothers were really cruel to her. It just seemed like her childhood was just a struggle and a challenge. And that's really kind of what I leaned into when I made her scrapbooking montage. I also wanted to put in a quote, and so I included huge lakes of mud boiled oilily. Just thought that was a really interesting phraseology. I also knew that home was a really big, important part of this story, so I just drew their little wooden shanty that they lived in as a very large family. For Ralph, I really had a lot of time for this one, so I decided to really go all out as far as his page. So again, I stuck with the date on the left, the years, and then the character name on the right. I continued with the family tree and just had little doodles to help me, again, remember the characters. So for instance, Frank, we discovered, was good at boxing, and so I drew little boxing gloves. I stamped a horse under Meggie because this is when she learned how to ride a horse. I also doodled a steamship because the family moved from New Zealand to Australia to Mary Carson's sheep farm, which sounds really small, but it really was an industry. So that steamship trip was also very memorable. And then I included the quote, "The melting sun had licked a golden paste over everything and gave the town a transient, gilded dignity." For Ralph's side, I had already done so much on this family side that I just kept it simple. I did a cross for his Catholicism and then ambition, because I think those two are at odds, and I think ambition really is at the core of Ralph's identity. For Paddy, again, same thing. I had the years on the left, I had Paddy's name on the right, and I did the family tree. At this point, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, but Frank ended up in jail. And this was kind of where I realized that I couldn't continue to do the family tree in the subsequent pages because it was going to spoil too much, because we were that far into the book, and these things would, I'd start to spoil it for you guys, and I really want this to be a spoiler-free zone. We also have Father Ralph, who's still here in this family tree, and then I just went ahead and drew the stock market, because this was during the time of the stock market crash. There was a lot of things that happened, but again, I didn't really want to spoil it, so I just settled into what was happening in the world during this time. I have a lightning bolt under Paddy because one of the things that, as I was reading this, I just was aware of is the Australian environment. That includes the animals and insects and environment and plants and storms and all of that. And that played a very prominent role in this section. So I put that as the main thing under Paddy. And then the quote was, "Like some defiant answer of the earth to the sky, the giant tree shot a pillar of flame far beyond its tip, and in a circle from around the center, great sheets of fire swept in the swirling wind." So powerful. For Luke's section, same system where we've got the years of this section on the left and then Luke's name on the right. again, like I said, I gave up on the family tree because I really felt like there were too many spoilers that were going on. But Father Ralph still had a very prominent role within the entire family, so I left him there sort of equal with the Clearys. And then I have Luke's relation to the book. And I also have a couple doodles that just reminded me of the things that happened in this book. I will say there was more spice in this than I was expecting or remembering, because I did read this decades ago and I was kind of like, oh, okay. So anyway, I did include a bed in there. And then Meggie needed a restorative trip away, and fortunately someone in her life, a woman who is a fantastic character, saw that and managed to get Meggie to travel to Matlock Island. I did learn in my research that Matlock Island actually doesn't exist. Colleen McCullough used other islands that are in on the coast of Australia as examples, but didn't actually use a specific island. She came up with her own. And then in the mini-series, they actually filmed it in Hawaii. So I just thought that that was a little bit of information that I found intriguing. And I put a money bag under Luke's name because just as Ralph is driven by ambition, Luke is driven by money, sadly. So the quote that I chose was, "The moon's still pale light picked out vast sweeping stretches of distance, the grass shimmering and rippling like a restless sigh. Leaves on trees sparkled suddenly, and great yawning gulfs of shadows spread under timber stands, as mysteriously as mouths of the underworld." And this spread is for Fee, who is Meggie's mother. Again, I had gotten rid of the family tree. The main situations in this section were World War II, as well as what they were referring to as the Great Drought. So that was really just what I drew. It was a pretty short section. So I drew the barbed wire that was sort of known in the World War II time period. And then I also wrote two characters' names who were in the war. They went in at 16 years old, and I just find that horrifying and heartbreaking. So I just put the names of the characters. And then I did not do a tree, but I did do the main characters that were in this section. As always, Father Ralph is like in the picture. And then since the section was about Fee, she was there. And then, of course, Meggie. And then I just did a couple stickers. Rabbits played a really big role in this. I've learned a lot about the Australian environment through this reread, and so I wanted to make sure that I included rabbits, so I had those as stickers and just put those on. So this was 1938 to 1953, and then the quote that I chose was, "Just carry on the way you have been. I'm very grateful you've become an ally." So one of the things about this book is there's a lot of undercurrent about mothers and daughters. Fee as a mother is very hands-off. It's probably a nice way of putting it. Potentially neglectful. And I really struggled with that in the beginning, but it does seem like if you think about Fee and her life and all the hardship of being out on basically the Australian prairie, she just didn't have time to actually do mothering. She was focused on making sure everyone survived. And she also had her own heartbreak that she carried into it. I think my biggest frustration with her section was she talked about it a little bit, but we really didn't get into her story. And I would have appreciated that, I think, because I think it would have helped me to relate to her better, to really get her story. And we just got little snippets of it. So that was Fee. And then the next section that we had was Dane. This is from 1954 to 1965. Dane ends up going to Rome, and so I drew the Colosseum. He also, after his time in Rome, traveled to Crete, and so I put this palm tree in here. There is significance within my scrapbook of the other palm tree and this palm tree, but again, I don't want to go into spoilers, but I did think that that was an appropriate addition to just kind of link the two. And the quote that I chose was, "My dearest Lord, thou art too good to me. I love thee." that was the section for Dane. I didn't put anything else here. Dane is such a special character. I want to say it's like he's almost too good to be true, but he is just a sweetheart. He is just a teddy bear of a man. He's, good looking. His mother is good looking, and so he is good looking, and just so sweet. And really, you've got the yin and the yang with Meggie's children, and he really does complement his sister. I mean, they're almost opposites. So then the book ended with Justine. This might have been the shortest section of the entire book. It was from 1965 to 1969, and this is Justine, who is Dane's sister. She is an actress, and that is a very prominent part of her identity. And so I just drew a stage on there so that I could remember the conversations that she had with her mother and grandmother to kind of introduce the idea of that being her career, and to kind of think through her relationship with Drogheda, which is the Australian estate that Meggie and her family run, and like Justine's relationship with the stage versus home. So I think that is very indicative of that. And then the quote that I put at the bottom is, "What could be nicer than falling in love? Finding a friend." So that is that. So I really am so happy with this scrapbooking experience. It helped that I read the Thornbirds over a 7-week period. So I wasn't moving through it fast, and so I would have time to read it, to digest it. I talked with ladies that I was buddy reading it with over Voxer to kind of solidify my opinions about things, and we really had a very healthy, lively discussion, and doing this scrapbook just really helped me to settle down into the story. And it's something that I love. I'm really happy that I have started this scrapbooking experience, and I'm really hoping to find another kind of thick family saga book to continue on. So let me know if this is something that you've enjoyed watching, if you have any suggestions for other thick books that I could either reread or read new, where I could do something similar, because I do think that this is just so fun to be able to look back at and to see things and remember certain aspects of the book. I just think it will help me to really have this story settle in. So let me know also if you have any desire to do scrapbooking, if your reading journal kind of feels like a scrapbook. I know some people do that. I would love to know what kind of like artistic endeavors you maybe combine with your reading life. I'm always up for ideas and input, and again, really trying to enrich my reading experiences. So thanks so much for watching, you guys, and until next time.